Hi everybody. This video is one of my most requested over all of my social media accounts, and so I thought what better way to start my YouTube channel than to give you guys the in-depth story time of my ATV accident. I feel like I should start by giving some context. Basically, my grandparents own a cabin up in northern Arizona, and with that cabin they also owned an ATV. I'm filming this video Memorial Day week, and this actually happened 3 years ago this week. The weekend that we went up to my grandparents' cabin, I did not want to go. I didn't want to go in general, and then I also didn't want to get on the ATV, but I did. I didn't listen to my gut. I had just graduated high school, literally like the week before. Earlier in the day or that weekend, we had found that if you go up this little mountain, that there would be like a dirt patch, basically, just open land where you can do ATV stuff. I don't know. We had decided that when we went the last time, when everything happened, that we would go up and test it out because we hadn't really driven around there before. We go up the mountain and go to do a donut, and within seconds, I don't know what happened, but the ATV flipped. My dad, my sister, and my cousin were all able to unbuckle themselves and pull themselves out. And when I went to sit up or get up, I realized that my arm, this part of my arm was stuck in between like the roof of the ATV and the ground. When my body realized we were flipping, I must have put my arm out to brace myself from the fall, and it then got caught. I also was, I believe, recording. I don't have the footage of that. My phone was severely broken, as well as my arm was. That might have also been a reason that my arm got caught. I was holding my phone. They were able to lift the ATV off of my arm so that I could scramble out. I couldn't pick my arm up at all. My arm is like burning at this point. It was super hot, but I think it was like my nerves or my muscles or something, but I could tell it was broken. Like my cousin and sister tried to get on the phone with people, call 911, call my mom. But because we were on like a mountain, the cell service was not good. We then had to figure out a way down because we weren't going to get back into the ATV that just flipped. There were so many things that worked in my favor, even though I was severely injured. These two Jeeps were lost on this path, and they just so happened to come up where we were. So I get loaded into the back of this Jeep, and I get really tired. I feel like my adrenaline is kind of crashing now. It literally, I don't know if you've seen accident scenes in movies, but it felt like that. Like my vision was just like different. It was like an out of body experience. And by the time we got to the bottom of the mountain, there was already an ambulance waiting for me. They get me on pain meds. They start checking me out. At some point, I realized that my injuries are more severe than they can really handle at the hospital that's nearby or in the ambulance. So they decide that it would be best if I am then flown back down to the hospital closer to here. So they back to an empty field where this helicopter meets us. They load me up into the helicopter, strapped down to like a gurney, and I'm looking out and I can literally see like the whole state of Arizona. Obviously that's a little bit dramatic, but I can literally see like forest, the trees, and I'm like, holy crap, what is happening? Hospital, things moved very fast. I didn't know that when you get into an accident, they have to cut your clothes off of you to make sure that you're not hurt anywhere else and just to look over you in general. So they cut my favorite leggings off, and I still think about them to this day. I'm then rushed into x-rays and CT scans and all the scans that you could possibly do on somebody. They're asking me a ton of questions, and they're not really telling me exactly what's wrong. I knew that my bone was broken, but in the moment, I just kind of thought, oh, well, I'll get a cast and I'll be good. I don't know if it was one of the doctors or nurses, but they basically said, we don't know what's going to happen to your arm. We don't know if we can save your arm. We're going to try our best. But the reason I would have lost my arm is loss of blood flow because I severed an artery. So that's why I think like just everything fell into place to get me into the hands of doctors and stuff. Like I don't know how long it would have taken me to get to a hospital. Within a couple hours, I was in surgery as we had crashed into a dirt area. They were really worried about like infection and cleaning out my arm. In my hospital stay, I had 4 or 5 surgeries. I was in the ICU for I don't know how many days, but when I first got there, I was in the ICU for the first couple days, and then I ended up staying in the hospital for 11 days. So the most major one that saved my arm was the vein transplant. Actually, fun fact, on my last surgery before I left the hospital, there was a nurse that came to prep me for surgery, and she was in the OR during my very first surgery, and she said my hand was gray, it was not good. It looked like my hand was dying. And when they did the vein transplant, she said that she saw my fingers come back to life and turn pink again. I know it sounds like the most major, but my leg scars healed perfect. That was probably the easiest, and I think because it happened so early on in my hospital stay, I don't even remember that happening. I just woke up and it was done. The next surgery was my skin graft. So basically, my skin from the accident was extremely damaged. So they took skin from my leg. I'll insert pictures as much as I can. They took skin from my leg and put it on my arm. So that's why everyone always says it looks like I have burn scars, or the texture is funny because a lot of burn victims have skin grafts. It's really cool how much medicine has advanced. When it comes to the actual broken bone, I have so many screws, so much metal in my frickin' arm, but I only had broken the top part of my arm. So I really only have metal down to my elbow. You can see that I also have an elbow stabilizer. There is my elbow stabilizer. It didn't used to be that prominent, but as time goes on, my skin is getting thinner. I had a lot to work through mentally and physically. I was in PT for months and months and months. I actually didn't have any feeling or movement in my hands. I wish I had more videos of that stuff just to see how far I came. But again, it was a dark part of my life, and I wasn't thinking about looking back on it. I was just in the moment. I was sent home in this weird, I don't remember what they call it, but every so often they turn this thing and they give you more movement. Every doctor that I see is amazed at the amount of motion and just grip and everything that I have in my hand, because it wasn't looking like it for a fat minute. My injury could have been so much worse. But yeah, recovery was a pretty hard time. Not only was I healing physically from gnarly stuff, but my mental health was not good. No 18-year-old girl wants to have their body covered in scars. And so that was kind of a really, really difficult thing to become confident in my own body again. For years, I hated the way my body looked. I was disgusted by it. So for about 1 or 2 years, I didn't even wear short sleeves. And it took me a really long time to get to the place where I am today. So that's why when people ask why I'm so confident or open about my story and my experience, my true answer is that it took me a very long time to get here. If I would have been able to see somebody that had a body that looked like mine or had large scars, I really think it would have helped a lot. So that's why I continue to post about it on social media, because even though there are definitely people that are rude about it and that are trolls and have not nice things to say, there are so many more people that have reached out that have such kind words and stories to tell. And I've had so many people comment about how me being open with my scars makes them more confident in their bodies or their scars, and that is literally all I could ask for. And in the end, I am more confident in my body than I have ever been in my life. So if you're watching this and you struggle with confidence or have had a very traumatic experience, know that you're not alone. That's why I share my story so much, and I have wanted to share the full story on TikTok or my other social media apps, but it's kind of hard to talk about in such detail on such a short form place. And I thought, what better time than to make my first YouTube video about this, because it's such a big part of my life. And I shared it a bunch on social media, and I get comments and questions about them all the time. I have tons of videos about my scars over on my other social media accounts, so if you want to go check those out, I'll leave them somewhere. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below, and I will 100% answer them. So, yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm like so honored. If you've stayed to the very end, I love you so much. Yeah, I'll see you in another video. I love you guys so much.